Hi, guys. Welcome to this week's episode of Global News Review. My name is Ola, and basically, we talk about news that happened during the week and how it affects your pocket and what you should be doing differently. So I encourage you to subscribe, hit notification button, and stick around. Today is quite interesting. We start off with news out of America. So last week we talked about the government shutdown. We explained what it was about. So if you didn't catch it, go back, right? Oops, go back and check it out. However, this week is a little different and quite unfortunate because the government shutdown actually kicked in. Usually, what will happen is that you wake up in the morning and find that they hit an agreement, but government was set to shut down September 30th, and they actually did, which is quite unfortunate. We talked about the fact that as individuals, yes, we all have governments, we all have companies who somewhat are responsible for us. However, the primary responsibility for your life lies with you, such that as you are working, getting that salary, it's your responsibility to actually secure your finances and not be part of this yo-yo, right? Because literally what has happened is that the government has shut down. People are not going to be paid. They're talking about layoffs. I can imagine if you were that person at that time, right? Thinking in this time, thinking what's going to happen tomorrow? Where's my next paycheck going to come from? Especially as civil servants, because civil service is supposed to be one of the most stable places. Yes, you may not be paid as much, you may not grow as quickly, but there's just this thing about stability and civil service. So if the civil servants are being tossed as yo-yo like this, guys, please wake up. It's really unfortunate, right? But I would say that if you're already in it, you're already in it, right? The question is, these things the question is, what are you going to do the next time it happens, or what are you going to do to make sure that the next time it happens you are not impacted? Why? Because it's not the first time. Like, it's not the first time. So most times, I think this is the based on the news, this is the last time they had an actual shutdown was 7 years ago. But every AK market day, America is talking about a threat of a shutdown. They will now, stretch it, extend it, blah blah blah. But how about America stabilizing their budget to a point where they don't actually have to get to this point where decisions are made in enough time, if you get what I mean. But yes, these are politicians. Don't leave your life to a politician to decide on how peaceful your sleep will be, if you understand. Yeah. So so what should you do, right? Out of that pay, as much as lies within your power, bring out something, save and invest. If you don't know what to invest in, I have other videos about what to invest in, where to invest, how to start. Yeah, start with those. And don't be of the school of thought that stock market is not great, blah blah blah. Don't do yourself that disfavor, right? There's stocks, there's ETFs. Even if you don't know how to start, you can start with the funds, the ETFs, the mutual funds, right? But start putting money away. Start putting money away and spread it across. And why do I say that? Because, for example, in America right now, if you were in the US stock market, right, the market will react to the shutdown, meaning that if all you did was do stocks, at the point where you need to sell those stocks to get cash, stock prices may be a little low. Do you understand? So be able to say, I can liquidate this, and this is my principal is secured, I can rely on this for this number of months. Do you understand? As against falling back to credit cards, if you get what I mean. Hey, Judisco. Thank you. How are you? Good morning. Good morning. Now, off to the second news. And this one, I just wanted to use it to highlight the difference between trading and investing, and the fact that as investors, which 90% of the population is, as investors, we need to think a little, we need to structure ourselves a little differently, right? So that we are more stable, right? So Netflix stock price dipped, right? Because Elon Musk said that people should cancel their subscription. That he has canceled his own. That is influencer demarketing, right? But long and short of the story, right? I don't want to go into the why and the how, and we know that Mr. Musk, it can be quite controversial, but I'm highlighting what happened. So a guy somewhere who is influential on X makes an announcement, and the next thing, the price of Netflix starts dropping because traders are in on it and they respond to it. Now, is it that the company is going down? No. Why do you sell the stock of a company as an investor when you feel like, okay, maybe I want to bank my profit, or maybe I don't believe that this company is going where I think it should go, or I want it to go, and so let me jump ship, right? Those are the two reasons as an investor. But you see traders, they trade every news. They thrive on volatility because it's when it goes up and down that they can make money. If market is flat, they can't make money, right? So the response to this news was primarily traders. So that as an investor, you can't follow them to be scared. What you should be looking out for is this a one-off post? Is this a smear campaign, a consistent one? Did he say anything fundamental about the reason why he was leaving Netflix? Is there something that has changed about the trajectory of Netflix? If none of those things are pointing to the direction of a sell, then while the traders will trade, as an investor, you should just sit still. Don't ignore, right? Because if it becomes a smear campaign, then it becomes an issue. Meaning, if he consistently goes against them and keeps hitting it, and people follow him and blah blah blah, and and it just becomes whatever, and people actually start canceling their subscriptions, then it becomes a problem. But as an investor, what should you be looking at? You should be looking out for their next quarter releases and their subscription number, their subscription growth. Those are the things you should be looking out for to decide, is this company going where I'm going? Listen to their strategy, listen to how they've implemented the ones they said they were going to do so far. Those are the things that you look out for. But primarily, see this news, it's just traders having a field day, right? I was short, now I'm long. I'm long, now I'm short. That's literally how it is, right? So, as an investor, and I insist, they are two different schools of thoughts. They can run side by side, but for the most part, most people should be investors because it takes a lot of dedication to stay as a trader. If you get what I mean, you have to stay with the market, right? So yes, that's that. Um, Now, I would like to know, right, from those that I see people that are online, say hi, 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 hi. Thank you so much. But I would like to know, what's your school of thoughts? Buy, sell, or sell, or buy and wait, keep it waiting, keep the portfolio for a long while and then see, right? I'd like to know because people do have both running at the same time. So off to Africa news, off to Nigeria news. Let's do Nigeria news. So this one was quite interesting. The PENCOM is the pension commission. They are the ones that guide activities of pension funds in Nigeria. Um, Something as simple as you want to buy a stock or a bond as a pension fund. After you've done everything you want to do, the PENCOM actually looks through, checks that you're within limits, all those kind of things. They're the Olokpa really of the pension industry. So they regulate the pension fund asset managers, that's the pension fund administrators, and then they regulate the custodians. So with the way pension funds is set up, right? So a pension, your PFA, right? But your PFA only manages the asset; they don't hold it. What do I mean? They don't the money that gets debited from your company to the pension fund does not go to the pension fund administrator. It goes to the custodian. That's where the cash is kept. So there's a separation of church and state. Why? So that at no point in time is the pension fund administrator in full control. The custodian can say no, this is out of line, this is this. So there are checks and balances, right? That's how it is set up. And so even in terms of reporting, the custodian will do their own reporting, pension fund administrator, PFAs will do their own reporting, and it's clear. Now, fast forward to last week, where PENCOM comes out saying they should do a capital raise. They should increase their capital to 20 billion. And then after they increase their, and that's the minimum. So if you are below, is it 500 billion? Yes, in assets under management, your capital should be 20 billion. And then if you're above that, then you start increasing by 1% for 1% for the excess, 1% of the excess over 500 billion, right? Now, my question is, what is this capital for? Because it feels like everybody's in capital raise season, right? But the fact is, what is this capital for? In When we were taught what capital is for, is capital was supposed to shock risk. What is the pension fund administrator actually shocking in this context? It's different from a bank who is actually taking risk on people's money. And so the capital is supposed to shock it. Are they saying that if a pension fund takes on a loss on a portfolio, they're supposed to use their capital to shock it? I don't know. Like, what is this capital for? I don't know. And for me, it's more like, why are we putting people under pressure and getting to, because a capital raise is a distraction. So there's some of the big boys already that will not have any issues with it because maybe they are affiliated with a bigger group, right? With larger group, and so it's just to channel capital there. But for the small fries who are the competition, who makes the big boys remember that they're not so big and someone can come for their food, it's just a distraction, in my own opinion. And I would like to hear from other people what they think the capital is for, especially for the custodian who is just holding. What is the capital for? Because they also have their own capital requirements increase. I'm like, what is the capital for? Because the banks are raising capital, insurance guys are raising capital. It almost feels like there's a way that everybody's raising capital that you're almost forced to merge. Is that what we really want? Or is there something else behind it? I'm curious. If you have gist about this, please share with me. But I can't see why a pension fund administrator who is making profit so that their retained earnings is also building, their retained earnings has been building over the years. Fine, it was 5 billion, but I mean, what are they doing? Right? If they stick with what they are doing, what is this capital supposed to be hedging? I still don't know. That was my question when I saw that. Then the second news out of Nigeria was, oh, I see people say hi Fumilola, hi David, I see you, thank you so much for saying hi. The second news out of Nigeria is that Nigeria's Dangote refinery strike briefly knocked out nation's 16% oil output. So this one is just highlighting how it's quite interesting how a private guy has become the person that the government is entering negotiations for. So backstory is that there's some issues with some staff. Pengassin now called stopped all their delivery trucks from moving and all that, or from lifting. And so there was a little bit of a scarcity, or you could see some queues here and there, maybe panic buying, I don't know. Because not everybody buys from Dangote anyways. But I mean, what happened was that the government stepped in and had to negotiate, and they announced that, oh, they figured it out, blah, 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 blah. But for me, I just like the fact that an individual is just there chilling. He didn't even say it. After releasing statement, that was the end, right? We didn't hear anything. But government was the one that came out to say, we have sorted it. Hey, why is government getting involved? It's not private sector. But yeah, it has become a critical thing, right? I was actually shocked. When you know that there's supposed to be queues, but you don't actually go and buy because you're like, no, there's fuel now. Haven't we passed this stage in our lives? And apparently we have. Thankfully, the queues didn't really stay so long and they are gone. Right. So I think for me, there's a way you can position yourself. I think also that Dangote refinery wants to list. Is that an idea? I think so too, because positioning is key. The guy has built a moat around himself. Untouchable for now. Next, next, let me see. What's the last news? Oh, yeah, I see David. I didn't pop you up. Thank you so much. And then the last news out of Africa. So this one, you people should not vex. Because we looked around for African news that we could discuss, and everything just felt so blah. So we decided to queue in Nigeria again because Nigeria is Africa. Yo. So the central bank is taking direct control of Nigeria's fixed income market to boost transparency. Now, what is the backstory? What does this even mean? So fixed income markets, the bonds. So when a bond is issued, like I am the federal government, I am selling a bond. When I sell that bond at the initial stage, people have it, right? But the person that bought it might decide they want to sell it to somebody else. They don't want to wait for 30 years. They don't want to wait for 20 years. That market is called the secondary market, and it's a massive market. So just Google interbank market, Google fixed income market, Nigeria's fixed income market. It is massive, right? In terms of size. And guess what? Globally, debt is larger. The debt size globally is larger than equity, right? So US government bonds, Chinese bonds, that's the market, right? So now we are situating this in Nigeria. What's happening? So before now, I remember when I was a trader, it was CSCS, the same CSCS that settle stocks were the ones that used to settle bonds, right, in the market. When I say settle, I buy from you, So you're supposed to move bond to me and I'm supposed to move cash to you. Somebody needs to execute that. After we do the front end trade, somebody needs to execute, actually move the cash and receive the bond. That is so CSCS used to do that. And then at some point we moved to what do we move to? FMDQ. So FMDQ is currently the one handling it, financial market dealers quotation. That's what FMDQ is called. And these are entities that we should all be aware of. They're doing things left, right, and center. So FMDQ were the guys that used to do that. And then now central bank is saying, I'm taking over. That's on the settlement side. On the trading side, front end, so yours and mine, getting on the phones, trading. When I started, we used to trade on the phones a lot. Like you have like 4 calls running at the same time, right? But so we're doing trading, we're doing phones and Reuters at a point. Reuters is another platform where we used to trade on screens. And then we had ICAP come in somewhere in between. And then we now finally moved to Bloomberg. So right now, traders in Nigeria are trading on Bloomberg. That's how they trade. And then the cool thing is that if, for example, you are on a desk where you guys trade Naira bonds and Euro bonds, for example, you would trade Naira with your Nigerian interbank market traders, but your Euro bonds, for example, you would trade with offshore, right, on the same platform. Or if you have an offshore guy that wants to trade Nigerian bonds, you just do everything on Bloomberg because Bloomberg is a global platform, right? So that's where we are right now. We use Bloomberg. But I dare say, hey, Bloomberg, one terminal, hey, if I don't remember, it was so expensive. Let me not even call numbers, right? But I remember for a small shop that probably had like three, last place I worked, we're probably spending like maybe 24K per annum, if I'm not wrong. Yes, on like maybe 3 terminals for Bloomberg. And so imagine a daily room, right, of like 10, 20 dealers. It's a lot of money. Bloomberg is expensive. So from the angle of the expense, I love the fact that the central bank is taking over, right? Also from the angle of the fact that we're spending dollars, right? Is hard cash. Like you would wire, and then sometimes you wire, they've not received it. This one, payment overdue, but the money you sent receipt, well, it's just very messy, right? So it's good. And then the same for transparency, meaning that central bank will see everything that everybody's doing. And then the cool part is the fact that they're also including the pension funds, the asset managers on this platform. Before now, there was Bloomberg, yeah, for interbank market, but then there was now another platform that they set up. I can't remember the name for pension funds, and the pension fund guys would do a trade. So as a trader, you would open that platform to see if PFA wants to trade, and then you now have your Bloomberg screen. So a lot of times that's that platform was dead, right? Because market is moving. What's all this thing that we're doing? So now the central bank is trying to integrate everything, which I think is fantastic. It's fantastic also from a transparency perspective, because there's a lot that goes down within that gap of one platform versus another. There's a lot that used to go down. Let's just keep it like that. But what I'm really concerned about is why you make an announcement, right? And then you say it's going to be effective. They're going to start settlements. They're going to do UAT by next week, and then they will move everybody by November 3rd for settlement. And then they will now continue with the front end. I'm like, where are we rushing to? Where? Why? Why do we like chaos? Because I have been there when we transitioned from S4 to T24, and from T24 to S4, moved from Reuters to Bloomberg. I know how these things can be. After I just said, some people are going to sleep in the office this Christmas because this November, forget it. Why? Because there will always be teething issues. Number one. Number two is the fact that if I remember the contract with Bloomberg, those ones too, they have says, because the contract is that you must give them a year's notice if you are going to get off their platform. So if the central bank not notify people last year, people are still going to have their Bloomberg for the next 1 year complete before they can let it go. Do you understand? And then when you now start with TD issues, you're not sure if it's working, if it's not working, if it's not working, you would want to wait till it is fine before you now actually let go of the Bloomberg, if you get what I mean. So how about we have a 1 year strategy, like a 1 year plan, knowing that everybody's still going to pay Bloomberg for a year? Like, why are we doing this to ourselves as a nation? And then apart from that, Nigeria, we are big. Like, do you realize how big we are? We are big. We are large. We're supposed to be treated with respect. Like, when you want to do a transition this major, you tell the whole world to stop. And you tell them, do you understand? You create space around yourself. But yeah, I saw it and I'm like, I'm glad I'm no longer in the market because the English you will speak, the chaos, the reconciliation, everything. But I mean, it's good for the younger ones to come in and experience it. But as a whole, right, eventually to settle down, it always does. There'll be teething issues. Hopefully, the platform will be good. I want to believe that. I mean, with the new central bank governor and the precedence of what he's been showing, right? Um, Yes, I see for me what for me is saying, right? Yes, the sector that affects the whole population. So it's not something to be joked with. Um, well, I don't know. Is it to prevent a crisis? I think you're talking about I think you're talking about fuel here, right? Yes. Yes. Okay, I'll speak to that afterwards. Thank you for me. I'll come back to that. But even for this central bank announcement, it actually is also a sector that affects the whole population, and we don't realize how much it affects us as a people when these things are not working, even to your cash transfers, integrations, blah blah blah. So I want to believe that the central bank, the platform they are introducing, is going to be top notch. I want to believe. I also want to believe there's some sustainability about it because guess what? When I joined the market, there was a platform called S4. S4 was what we were all on, and everybody that was on that created S4 that deployed S4 into Nigeria, they are jackpot. So S4, the whole of Nigeria was hanging on a platform that they were patching until they finally had to move, like they were forced to move to the and that was T24. So we are now on S4, right? And that transition to S4 was headache. Headache. But yes, I want to believe that the central bank has it on lockdown. The new central bank governor seems to be very, very pam pam pam. So I wish them luck in this. Let's look out for how it pans out. And so for me, we're talking about yes, you're talking. I think it's about Dangote, right? So the government has to intervene. Yes, the government has to intervene, but that's why I said that Dangote refinery. We're talking about a listing, right? So that's why you should roll with the big boys. He has built a moat around himself because he has made himself critical to Nigeria, right? So it's almost like go and talk to them. I'm not going to get into this fight because even the conversation around who was fired, why they were fired, it was becoming debate, right? So I'm like, yo, sort it out. Miss me from this conversation. And I think that's a good place to be. Um, I see people are engaging. So the government has to exactly to prevent a crisis. But the reason why I'm highlighting it is because so the government has always been there, right? Even when we're having those queues, if you get what I mean. So this is different. Yeah, the government has always been there. So there's something different, and I almost comes. I think that is coming from the Dangote side of things. The fact that he has positioned himself, and nobody's going to settle for less than what we already have. If you get what I mean. Yeah. Hi, Tolu. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for engaging. Thank you, Fumi. I hope this was useful. Please don't forget to share with a friend. The idea of this session is really that you begin to connect the dots with your pockets and the things that you are seeing. Because, like, for example, central bank fixed income, blah, blah, blah. There are things that we see, but we don't realize how it affects us, right? We don't realize the impacts it could even have on FX, for example, because as a collective in the country, if we add up all the financial institutions paying for Bloomberg, for example, it would cross over a million. It would actually cross $1 million every year being paid to Bloomberg, and that's additional cost. That's additional everything, right? And I think I'm even being modest with that million. Yeah, I'm being very modest. So these are the things that we see that we don't understand. Like that, the government is actually plugging those leakages and all that. The major concern here is the quality of the platform. If it delivers and delivers consistently, because I mean, if Bloomberg has a downtime, you see it on CNN, you see it everywhere. That's how much they are set up and solid, if you get what I mean. Yeah, so thank you guys so much. Trust this was a useful session. We are going to have a session. The pensions fund, the PENCOM has released a lot of guidelines, like different things that need to be unpacked so that individuals know how it impacts them. Please just look out for it. Follow us on social media. Let me even put it up. Because we need to have that session. It's just too much to discuss here. Let me see where are our socials. So if you can, I think it's also in the description. So we have our Substack newsletter. I'm looking for where to pop up the socials now. Okay, yes. So follow us on social media, right? And we will announce when we are having it in the coming week, right? Just to unpack because there's a lot of changes that are coming to pension funds. There's a lot of change that have come to asset managers. We talked about it. So go and look at last week's news. So if you are a mutual fund investor, like there are some changes to your portfolio that are coming and they're coming quick and hard. A lot of things happening. I dare say that the government, civil servants, they are working. Yeah, they're actually working in the finance space. Big ups to them. Bye.